Jupiter has remained completely mute. Its origin and purpose still a total mystery.
Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey is a milestone in the history of the cinema and a milestone in the history of the futuristic imagination. And beyond that, it's a film about the most profound questions of our existence. The power of what it suggests in images goes beyond language-based theories and beliefs. And part of the film illustrates the knowable and the measurable. But then it suddenly and unexpectedly bursts into the space that words cannot begin to express. And we're left to understand and interpret as best we can, without the blueprints of any specific belief or system. Stanley Kubrick himself recognized this. He wasn't willing to interpret the film, neither this nor any of his other works, but he was forever intrigued to hear what others felt about 2001, and though often surprised by these interpretations, he nonetheless found them rewarding and legitimate. 2001 confronts and challenges us with ideas about the very presence of the universe. It presents us with ultimate ideas. Ideas not only about the origins of life, but also about the evolution of intelligence and its purpose. However, 2001 goes beyond even these questions and reaches out to consider the reason for the universe and the very idea of gods. Kubrick would be the first to acknowledge that the idea of a god or gods gives us reassurance. It's a key to the mystery of being. It gives us direction, and most importantly of all, answers and purpose. Here's what Kubrick said in an interview soon after the film's release. "I will say that the God concept is at the very heart of 2001, but not any traditional anthropomorphic image of God. I do believe that one can construct an intriguing scientific definition of God. It seems likely that there are billions of planets in the universe, and some are hundreds of thousands of millions of years in advance of us. Can you imagine the evolutionary development that much older life forms have taken? Their potential would be limitless, and their intelligence ungraspable by humans. These beings would be gods to the billions of less advanced races in the universe. They would possess the twin attributes of all deities, omniscience and omnipotence. They would be incomprehensible to us except as gods." So we have the traditional and the scientific God. Kubrick, however, has no easy answers for us. Having led us so far, he now abandons us to confront the film and its ideas by ourselves. Alone, we're left to understand and interpret it as best we can. There are no right answers. Kubrick acknowledged this himself, and it is a factor that has contributed to 2001's success and popularity, particularly among the young. When Kubrick began production of 2001: A Space Odyssey in 1965, he decided to prefix the film with a prologue consisting of edited clips of leading scientists discussing the possibility of extraterrestrial life and related subjects. To this purpose, Kubrick carefully drew up a list of questions and sent his associate Roger Karras around the world, interviewing some 20 individuals. Owing to the running length of the finished film and other considerations, Kubrick abandoned the idea of a prologue. We have here some extracts from these interviews, together with excerpts from a lost film interview by the co-author of 2001: A Space Odyssey, Arthur C. Clarke, given in 1966. We'll start with Arthur C. Clarke, now Sir Arthur, who sees space travel as an evolutionary inevitability.
The whole of human, in fact, biological history is an evolutionary progress. We began in the sea, We exploited that fully, but there are certain things you can't do in the sea. Then life moved out onto the land. And on the land, we developed all the advanced forms that exist today. On the land, in air, we can develop technology. We can develop fire. You can't imagine an advanced civilization that was always living in the sea. We are the product of this evolution. Now in our generation, the next stage is beginning, the conquest of space. And this will open up, I think, as many new possibilities as the exploration of land, as the exploitation of the land opened up. And just as the first amphibians could no more have imagined us, so we can no more imagine the ultimate results of space exploration.
The exploration of space increases the chances of discovering extraterrestrial life. Isaac Asimov, the famous and prolific writer of science fiction and science fact, was optimistic about the subject. I believe that there is life on planets other than Earth, but we have to make one thing certain. I do not mean planets in our solar system. The chances that there is life on other planets in our solar system are small. There may possibly be life on Mars, but even that would be very simple forms of life. If we're talking about complex forms of life, intelligent life, life that might be roughly comparable to ourselves in intelligence, if not in shape, then we're speaking about planets in other stellar systems, planets circling other suns. My belief in the presence of intelligent life elsewhere in the universe is purely a matter of statistics. There are 135 billion stars in our galaxy. Now that's just in our galaxy. There are at least 100 billion other galaxies like our own, more or less. Among these 135 billion stars, a certain moderate percentage are like our own sun. Of these stars, almost all would be expected to have a planetary system. A certain moderate percentage would be bound to include a planet very much like our Earth. On such a planet, life would be almost sure to develop because scientists don't think that life is a miraculous accident. It follows almost inevitably from certain well-known chemical changes.
One of the ultimately most important results of spaceflight is, I think, going to be the contact with superior civilizations. We have no evidence at the moment that life exists anywhere else in the universe, but it seems absolutely inconceivable, and I think most astronomers today will go along with me, that in this gigantic universe, we are the only living things and the only intelligent things. It's far more probable that there are more races ahead of us than behind us, and that we may be very low indeed in the hierarchy of cosmic intelligence. The curious thing is this, that at the very moment when we've acquired the ability to go out to the nearer planets, we have also, as a result of the same technological development, acquired the ability to communicate with anybody on the stars, if there's anybody there to listen to our signals and to send anything back. And I'd like to come back to the moon on this, because I think these experiments of listening for signals from other civilizations can only be successfully carried out on the moon, which is another very good reason for going there. The reason is a technical one. You can only build really large radio telescopes on the moon because you have low gravity and you have no windage, you have no weather to contend with. Also, the moon is a very quiet place from the radio point of view. There are several other good reasons for building our radio observatories on the moon.
When we first found it, we thought it might be an outcrop of magnetic rock, but all the geological evidence was against it. And not even a big nickel iron meteorite could produce a field as intense as this. So we decided to have a look.
We thought it might be the upper part of some buried structure, so we excavated out on all sides, but unfortunately we didn't find anything else.
And what's more, the evidence seems pretty conclusive that it hasn't been covered up by natural erosion or other forces. It seems to have been deliberately buried. Deliberately buried.
What about the possibility of contact with an intelligent, advanced, extraterrestrial civilization? What effect would this have upon us? Is this something that we should welcome? How would this come about? Professor Frank Drake of Cornell University, the pioneer in searching for extraterrestrial intelligence by radio astronomy, pondered these questions for many years. A lot of thought has been given to the problem of the most likely means of communication between civilizations. It seems very likely that the most usual means of communications will be radio signals. And this is for one very simple but compelling reason, and that is, radio signals are far more economical than any other that we're aware of. It's possible that radio signals of extraterrestrial origin are arriving at the Earth at the present time with an intensity which is detectable with existing equipment. If this civilization is obviously trying to contact other civilizations, we should answer. Now, there are people who believe that it might be dangerous to answer. Perhaps they'll attack us. Perhaps we are the finest beef animals they've ever discovered. But the fact is, and this is something we should understand right now, is that we already transmit enough radio waves into space that we can be detected if they want to detect us. Arthur C. Clarke suggests that something alerting us to an extraterrestrial intelligence is a real and imminent possibility.
We might conceivably obtain this kind of information at any moment. As you know, there was a false alarm from the USSR about a year ago. Someone had detected a fluctuation in the radiation from one of these radio sources and thought this might indicate a super civilization was broadcasting a signal at unimaginable power. Well, this was shot down by his fellow astronomers, but not too severely. I mean, the idea is not fantastic, and we are half expecting something like this to happen. It might happen tomorrow. It might have happened last week, and the announcement is going to be in tomorrow's papers. But I think it's more likely to happen perhaps in the next 50 years.
And will these messages presumably be messages that started out a very long time ago?
Oh, yes, traveling at the speed of light. Even if we had a signal from the nearest star, it would have left Proxima Centauri, Alpha Centauri's companion, 4.25 years ago. And of course, if we replied instantly, it would be 8.5 years before they knew that their signal had been received.
Who or what is out there? New York University professor of physics Jeremy Bernstein sounded a cautionary note. I think it is generally and rather naively assumed that extraterrestrial life will be benign, that there'll be philosopher kings reigning in the cosmos. I think it was first Professor Freeman Dyson who made the point that if we detect signs of extraterrestrial life, what we'll detect first will really be advanced technologies. We will detect signals generated by some very advanced technological system. And it is by no means clear that a civilization capable of advancing in technology is going to be a very benign civilization. Rabbi Lamb, professor of Jewish philosophy at New York's Yeshiva University, believes that contact would be only for the good. I think that if we should ever come into contact with an extraterrestrial, highly intelligent race much older than our own civilization, that the primary lessons we would learn from them would not be technological. I think that there is a civilization which has lasted that long, then by the very fact of its survival, it has indicated that it has learned certain secrets of social justice, harmony, and the ability for individuals to get along without killing themselves off on a large scale. What about our future in the universe? What will become of us? What will we achieve? Isaac Asimov was again confident and optimistic. In the next 10,000 years, we will have the solar system completely explored. we will have colonies on the moon or on Mars, maybe on the moons of Jupiter. I hope that we will have controlled population, that by that time we will have reached some level of population which will be suitable for the world as we want it to be, and we will keep to it. And I hope also that we will reach the point where we can treat mental illness at least as well as we can now treat physical illness. Kubrick said himself that the concept of God is at the very heart of 2001 and proposed the idea of God as extraterrestrial. Now, this was an idea that was also taken up by Professor Good of Oxford. I think there are certainly a number of interesting speculations that one can make about the nature of God, or rather the definition of the word God. I believe that the ultra-intelligent beings that permeate the universe might very well be in telepathic communications with one another, and that they might even exist as an integrated, more or less immortal consciousness permeating the whole of the universe. If this is so, this could be regarded, with a slight stretch of the word, as a definition of God. Arthur C. Clarke commented upon the impact of science on religion.
Well, religion is always enormously influenced by scientific knowledge. In fact, I think most religions are transformed every few centuries, although their advocates always deny this. Look at the effect of evolution, discovery of the theory of evolution on Christianity. Look at the astronomical discoveries, the way they broke down the medieval concept of man as the center of the universe. This is going to continue, and it'll be accelerated if we ever come up against higher forms of intelligence, as I'm sure ultimately we will. It will give us a much more humble view of ourselves. I don't see how we can possibly think that the human race is the kind of chosen of God.
Rabbi Lamb eloquently expresses similar ideas in the thinking of Judaism. One of the very greatest of all Jewish thinkers of old days, perhaps the greatest Jewish philosopher of all times, Maimonides, maintained that man may be the superior creature on earth, but it would be foolish to consider that he is, therefore, the purpose of the universe. 2001: A Space Odyssey is a film that sets us thinking about the most profound questions of our existence. And that is why, nearly 40 years after its first release, it still has such compelling power on audiences all over the world. It was and is a remarkable achievement. Stanley Kubrick sought to show us how vitally important it is for us to have respect for the unknowable. We need to be in awe. Without that, we're lost in a fog of self-regarding illusion. The last words are the words of Kubrick himself.